showed up recently. Okay.
Okay, they're still gonna go for the Harley. High magic base.
Yeah.
And this didn't go.
The second round didn't go as expected as I did. I thought Falcons might go for something a little bit more surprising in the jungle. Yangon played it safely. They have their Clint with them. Esmeralda should win in the EXP. But it's Han on the Suyo. And that's the big X factor. Exactly.
X factor for YG. Will it be the Suyo that sends him into the grand finals? Will it be the Clint that bursts the bubble of the Philippines? Or will Team Falcons live to fight another day? They need to win 2 in a row. But every win for 2 starts with the first one. So let's see if they can handle this game as we send it over to our casters. Tracks Liam.
Going into the Land of Dawn for game number 4 is a canon event in the Myanmar versus Philippines rivalry. Yangon Galacticos could secure their slot at the grand finals and finally put the rivalry to bed, or Falcons could claw their way into a clincher that goes all the way. Welcome to game number 4 in this best of 5, our first semifinals for the day. And just like that, with red 5, Falcons securing the Harley, even the whole jungle matchup was left in contention.
And it worked out so well for them because the thing is even if YG doesn't go for the Suyo, Falcons can pick up a Suyo in response. They had him in this rock, paper, scissors match where Falcons always got to see what YG picked first. And when Suyo and Harley were the 2 picks to go, Harley normally got the win over it.
That's right.
Harley normally got the dub in that matchup.
For about 4 to 6 weeks, Harley was the best jungler in the game when it came to MLBB Sports. And this is not to say Yangon can't win with the Suyo. They already have in the knockout stage of MSC. But looking at the rotations, again, I'm not so sure if you agree with me, but it's evident that Yangon are playing a little more cautious. It's a very similar pace to game number 3.
Falcons also, though, because if we get to this 2-minute mark, Sanji and Super Marco always just go
down here. If we get to this 2 or 3 minute mark and it's still 0 deaths, we have to admit that also Falcons taking a slower pace, because even game 2, game 3, Falcons were the aggressors. Ooh. Kyle on the bot side looking for a possible target, does have level 4, going to decide to go for this crab instead. Turtle comes up in 5 seconds. Kyle might be a little late to the party.
All right, the expanding rivers will allow him to double time and make it there. Flap and Ogwin able to draw a line between Blink and the Turtle. Flap on this Esmeralda 2 games back-to-back is feeling like a force of nature.
On is going to start off this Turtle. Kyle gets the deadly magic, or doesn't actually use it quite yet, but they're still able to put a lot of damage on a Blink. Hodge in the backside with the Crimson Beacon. And down goes Han. Han's not going to be able to survive this one. First blood into the hands of Hanzi. Ties now, forced to use the Flicker. As YG watch Falcons take Turtle number 1.
That is mid-prio Apawazu.
Let's watch.
As if inherited from their ancestors, Falcons just take the Turtle and own the early rotations. As a Uranus, you kind of can't help but feel miserable. This is something that Ying has to take from game number 3 all the way to game number 4 and say, I can do better. But he's not given the atmosphere to do as such. The mount on the Sanji into Marco.
He's in a lot of trouble. Han's going to try to come in to help
Nice
out.
one, nice
damage
one.
on Ogwin.
Let's
Ogwin will be
go.
able to get away. CC immune on to Super Marco, will be able to in fact get back safely onto the tower. But a nice pickup for YG.
Massive clap back.
YG
They
versus
forced
Onyx.
Ogwin to take a dirt nap
YG
there.
versus
Patrick Star
Onyx.
just out the bush. This is
Yeah,
interesting.
the final
Red,
over.
purple,
Yeah.
committed. Kyle takes it.
This is the semi-final.
It's 2 games in a row now that purple buff hasn't been Falcons, but look at the damage.
Whoa, whoa.
Flap able to safely get onto the tower. Now they're responding back. Haji gets a pull back on to Ying. Ying should be okay. He doesn't have the consecration and opted for a
वो
flicker
लोग का
instead
सीढ़ी
of the
एकदम जंगल
purify.
करने में बिजी है.
So that's multiple
हाँ,
ways
लेके
that
जंगल
members
दिलाना
of
पड़
Yangon
रहा है.
Galacticos could get ragdolled out of their formation. The lantern flare,
Dominance दिख रहा है
the
यहाँ पे.
crab grab and the mount. This is how you
Map
break
पे उनका
down
dominance.
the Burmese ube, the Yangon Yam. So far, game 3 we saw none of it, and I think Falcons have figured it out. Again, it may have taken them 2 losses straight, but what else is left in the bag for Yangon? Like, that's the question. They're in the driver's seat. Falcons are forcing Yangon to respond.
I mean, I think it's definitely when you have something like the, wait a second, does get vision on a Kyle. Falcons repeatedly for multiple games have sent 4 members down to the gold lane in faith of flat on top side. Look at the damage on Sanji. Black Magic may be able to finish him off. No, he gets the health back just in time. Haji, though, doesn't want to let it end like that. Falcons finally decide to opt back Super Marco. Is he going to let him recall? Oh, the the dive over the tower. Sanji, though, still standing, still alive. The bell gets grabbed, mounted, and thrown into the ground. That's a long-term exchange as Flap tries to use a damage reduction into the base, and the turret will not save him. Flap balls, Han scores. The punches are finally flying. Han won't be able to get away from this. Has a sliver of health, actually does safely. Falcon under the tower, only lose Flap. Turtle's up, though. That's a technical knockout, unless Han will tread the needle. He's going to live on the edge. That is a flare on a Ying. In comes Blink. Blink looking for the grab, doesn't use the Fatal Links. Kyle goes down. Ogwin taking a lot of damage. Kai's is there. Eudora finally starting to put out some damage, but the thing is, it's not constant damage. It's not like the Jushin. You get one big attack, and then you're just there. On a spectrum of damage and utility, that's where Haji Zushin comes through. But you gotta consider, Kaiser was in the perfect spot at the perfect time. It was Kyle he needed to burst down. So again, I think Young Galacticos are happy to keep this lead down to under 1,000 by picking off Kyle after the turtle. So yes, 100% so far. About 5.5 minutes in, Falcons take those turtles, but Yangon are on the map. This is a much better shape for them than they were in Game 3. I think this is the best start of a game that we've seen for both teams in a sense. What I'm saying is it hasn't escaped from anybody. I concur. All 3 games, it's been a huge lead. A turnaround at some point for YG here and there. But overall, this is the first time we've been 6 minutes in and we're under a 2,000 gold lead. It still feels like a tug of war. And the flag has not swung either way. Crimson Flare on the 1. Deadly Magics. Blink, not going to be able to get away from this. Sanji just trying to defend, but the Blazing Duet comes in and he's stopped in his track. Han shows up in the nick of time. Kai's there as well. This could be bad for Falcons if they push too hard. They're going to dash in. Han gets a couple shots onto Kyle. Ying dashes in, past the wall. Couple shots onto Kyle as well, but Falcons only lose Ogwin. Massive surge forward. That's what you're looking for in a Suyo that is in crunch time. So Han here, fearless as he comes in, able to find that trade, and Flat maybe a second too late, actually holds his breath and practices discipline and does not jump in with that Falling Star Moon, which again keeps them at under 1,000 up, which makes this final turtle of this game about 7 minutes in actually contestable. Again, neither have a sure grip. Yeah, it is dead even right now. With only a 600 gold lead. Taking a look at each member, no one extremely leading. Super Marco with a 500 gold lead, but no one's got a full item. No one's extremely ahead. Han actually beating out on Kyle right now. Blink looks for the entry. Not able to secure a stun on anybody, but Kai's to the backside, getting singled out by Flap. Flap will be able to get the kill. Puts Falcon at advantage for this turtle, but Han doesn't want to give it up just yet. As Ying dives in, pops Consecration, and there's the Fatal Link.
Oh my god, this is Falcons winning. Falcons winning this fight. Nice one. Only
Another Sanji left alone to watch the turtle go over to Falcons. And now we see the folly of the burst damage profile Young Galacticos have so invested in. Kaiser taken out early, Sanji ranged out. Underneath a fight like that, sure, sever over 2 or 3 major targets will spell vamp you to victory, but not when you have the kind of damage that Falcons almost missed on, by the way. This is an early game going into the mid-game quad that could have missed out, but the fact that he was able to keep himself topped up and put the damage where it matters, isolated Sanji from actually getting the payoff. Because look, 2 members of Falcons were actually within range, but they denied Sanji that space and the 2 seconds he needed to let off a few big ones. So now, Falcons skyrocket to a 4,000 gold lead in just a single objective. 1 neutral objective, 1 team fight. They had a 400 gold lead before they started. Now times 10. 10 times it. Yep. 10 times it. Exponential, that stonks. Great stonks for Falcon right now. Working their way up. If they can win this, it goes to a game 5. YG being pushed to the limits.
What the hell? Why net is going right now?
And I can tell you now that Glue and that Esmeralda are the bane of their existence. Just the fact that these two are so good at splitting up your lineup does so much for them. The knock-up and the takedown, Blink falls!
Flap is relentless, continues to push him, but look at the damage in response. Sanji able to chip him down, but they've already lost Blink, so there's no being engaged. Han tries to get a couple shots off of Super Mario! Under the tower! In the base, in enemy territory!
Whoa.
Locks on and finds his target, and Kai's will be next to fall. Pull back is Ying. This is the Falcons we wanted to see.
Surgical precision. Every action calculated to find its most ideal output. 10 minutes in, and they've taken mid lane tier 2. Top lane tier 2 has fallen as well. Yangon holding onto that tier 1 down bottom. That's also where the Lord spawns. I don't think they're in any shape to contest. 7,000 up, that's a whole nother tax bracket.
Yeah, and Han just keeps getting shredded every time he tries to dive in. There is no answer. Every time a setup looks good for YG, Falcons have the counterplay.
And now Falcons are just going to relish in the fact that Yangon are going to think twice about leaving their base. One more look at this engagement. Oh my God, it was Flap zoning out 3 alone. After maybe a hit or 2 off of that turret, and then Marco finishes what Flap started.
Monsters.
They're in a state of flow. They're in a state of flow.
Flow state, one would say.
Falcons right now are in a whole nother level. It seems like their birds out of this world. A new species was discovered 4 games into this best of 5. Lord marching through mid. A pensive state is the other half of our stadium here, as suddenly the table has turned. Now it's Yangon who are struggling to find an answer through. I mean, you can find it through a Massive Fatal Links, but now while the Lord is knocking on your base like this.
Blink's looking for it, but hasn't been able to catch it. Goes in, 3-man! Pulls him in! Ogun flickers back, but Blink goes down. Super Marco's untouched. He's unscathed. And YG just can't find a member of Falcon to take down. Flap with a falling Star Moon into the tower, trying to open up space. Kyle there as well. Ying and Han looking for an engage that never existed. And in comes Super Marco under the base once again with the blazing duet. He might not take a member, but the inhibitor drops and Falcons are looking for more.
Even Ying has to retreat underneath all the lead Marco's throwing out. And even Sanji's bullets don't hurt as much as he'd hoped to. Falcons are now up about 11,000 gold, denying even orange buffs and small camps away from Han. He's starving, just built up his Queen's Wings, which is, again, something he needs. He needs maybe a second or 2 more underneath all that. But being 2,000 behind a little magical boy, such as Kyle's Harley, a minute before the Lord, might be a replay of game number 3, I'll tell you now.
It's definitely looking rough for YG. The goal on that first Lord when you're behind like this is to try to not lose any inhibitors, let alone 2. It's going to make the second push that much harder to defend. When you're behind this far, the goal is get to third Lord. Get to third Lord, get to the 16-17 minute mark, and you're good.
And again, throwing back to something that was evident at the 7-minute mark, the burst damage profile that Yangon are playing with is not ideal for what Falcons are bringing in. Splitting up your lineup, pushing in hard, lane after lane. Once Kaize has drawn through with the Thunder's Wrath, once Sanji is out of bullets, that's it. Yangon have to find a way to re-engage, but which they don't have, because Blink is very all-in. So Falcons now just have to do this right. They just have to make a series of correct decisions. Time is on their side, and that will inevitably take us all the way.
Falcons Esports, and they do play it patient. They're not trying to rush it. They know their lead. They know the amount of time they have. YG, you're in a bad situation here, right? You kind of have to contest this because you're down to 1 inhibitor. Blink, once again, unable to find an opening. He goes in,
nice one.
grabs on to Flap.
Nice ulti.
Flap dives into the backside of Blazing Weapon. Marco once again able to lock on to 3.
Super Marco.
Blink goes down.
Super Marco, nice.
For Flap and Haji.
Oh my
Sanji
God.
forced to use the flicker, but he's pulled
Sanji
back
gone.
in. Right as he tries to
Their
escape.
enemy's gone.
Falcon Esports might not even need the Lord.
Team Falcons up by 2 men. 3 defenders. None of them built the clear waves. Chubby wave coming through top. Mid lane will be cleared here as the Ying gets taken down.
They gotta clear the waves. There's one more to do. It's Han and Kai's against Falcon Esports. A wave on the top side as well. Falcons lock on. Base at 50%. Han taken out. Han still
still up, but finally falls, and that'll be
Game
it.
ends here.
Esports will take
Nice
us to
one,
game
boys.
number 5. With
The
a
game will go
rivalry
to game number
storied
5.
as Myanmar versus the Philippines, there's no way neither of them was going to let this end. Game. Falcons force us to go all the way.
It's going totally like Onyx versus Aurora. Oh my god. Let's go. Will Falcon lead the...
Amount of synergy and chemistry that the members of Team Falcons have is nigh infinite. I don't think you've ever, well, we've been close to, hanging out for almost 2,000 days, but they are a team that have been through
खोके खोके पे खोके मुँह खोटे मुँह खोले मुँह चोदी पे गोडे फिर गोटे पे गोडे
You are now listening to DL915.
Bigger बंदी thicker digging deeper 7 figure kamikaze करे heat up looted gin like it's a stick up pick up पैसे बेचा नशे अभी fuck my shit up महंगी ticket वही दोस्त महंगे शौकर मेरी मलास बीटा है लाश हूँ मेरा हैश सपनी हदायत ना करूँ मैस सुने है मैस बड़ा है गैप काली है हैश और है कैश ऐसा मसास you can imagine कितना है लैक्स कितनी है बैक करे हैं गैप तो पड़े हैं रैप up in the map pick up पापा calling हो गई दिक्कत चेपू लौंडे रहे हैं चिपक गई मिनट से पहले निपट I mean हाँ सेट अप कमर सीधी करके गेट अप गेम है कातिल प्लेयर है किलर नियम इलर इन मैं फिकर करे माँ बाप जानते नहीं है बेटा किधर जीते जाते जिधर जूते देके जनता जाती बिगड़ क्लिक लेट और केक जब कोई पूछे कहना क्लिक अप पिक अप दबे ट्रिगर भगे गिरर गने बिगर गने बैग में पहने का घेट और गैट है गैप ये बड़ा मैं आगे हूँ लैप और रैप में बैठा विलायत में झाई में जेट में बैठे ये वैन में जैन में हम सादा का देते बैठते एट में हरिकेन बीटों पे ही गॉट अ बैकलिन कैसे न फटू ये ज़बा है मैक्टिन डीएलएन वन हमें सभी से बेहतर बिगर बंदी थिकर डिगिंग डीपर 7 figure kamikaze करे हीट अप लूटे जिन लाइक इट्स अ स्टिक अप पिक अप पापा कॉलिंग हो गई दिक्कत चेपू लौंडे रहे हैं चिपक गई मिनट से पहले निपट I mean बिकट बावे ड्रैगन काटे टिकट सिकट बिजनेस डेटा इज्जत का गाना का पिटा जरिन में रखी है जानकारी बावे हवाबाजी पूरी खानदानी चढ़ी धंधे के कंधे पे ईमानदारी लगी गांधी में पट्टी वो गांधारी तेरी कार्रवाई करे कामकाजी मैंने काले कांड करे कालकाजी वादा किया कभी टालता नहीं तू सामने से मीठा बस मारता एरिया गंदा तो शरीर से बास आती उस गली की भाभी की टांग था दी मैंने पीरी बस बोतल से गार्गल की जब पैसे उड़ाने तो काम भाई मानता नहीं ओल्ड स्कूल पहले फोन छिड़ता माइक्रो मैक्स गड्डी पतंग तेरा काइपो छे पहले हथियार लैसा बन रहा हूँ कुछ तेरा भाई फांसी सुरंगों गलियों में दिखाता रंग रली इस मेंटल में मेटल है बावे तू मैटर में पिस्टल लगी पूरी गन मरी वो मेरे ही खास जो जाते हैं रैली में बना दे तुझे भी मंत्री आती है पास वो ग्रुपी देख ग्रुपी तो भावे मेरे लंच पे ठंड बची देखेगा बाय भागेगा बाय राजधानी काम सनसनी नो फैमिली टाइज बस फैमिली गाय मेरे अंश बैठे करे अनशन ये मुंह पे मिलते क्लैप 17 के 70 फैक्ट और मिलती रोटी उसको जिसके मुंह में नहीं है दांत बस गोले धोती अफरा तो तू उतारे औकात 791 for life bigger बंदी thicker digging deeper 7 figure kamikaze करे heat up looted gin like it's a stick up pick up पापा calling हो गई दिक्कत चेपू लौंडे रहे हैं चिपक गई मिनट से पहले निपट I mean हाँ pick up पैसे बेचा नशे अभी fuck my shit up महंगी टिकट वही दोस्त महंगे शौकर महंगी लिक सेट अप कमर सीधी करके गेट अप गेम है कातिल प्लेयर है किलर नियम इलर इन मैं फिकर किसकी गलती किसके सर पे किससे जल्दी किससे बनती हाँ लाइनें दे रही आगे से तू जो तो फर्क नहीं पड़ता किसकी बंदी हो
डाला माला माले क्रू शाका ला शाका लाका बूम मैं काका टिकी टाका काटू चू ला साथ में भाला याबा डाबा डू भाई
आले धब्बे आले हम पिल्ले 101 एक से एक है मेरे 120
निशाना लगा फेंका शाहरुख कैनो रियो भरे शाहरुख पीली अगले दिन था सुपरसोनिक खाती लगी बड़ी मेरी शो के दिन
स्कूटी सवारी भी ना रुकी नोएडा से लेके निजामुद्दीन कहते जो माँ का ही खाता तू अब आके देखा जरा तेरी 101 फोन देखा बैटरी 2% है रूम की हॉट बॉक्स पर स्टोन कोल्ड फ्लो लोग बोले में भी ठंड है मेरे में घमंड है थोड़ा बहुत ज्यादा नहीं भौका बहुत काटा नहीं खोटा शौक वाला नहीं धुआं ढके आसमान दिल्ली मेरी बात मान हर सफेद के यहाँ पे 7 रंग है ऐसी बातें जमती नहीं तो दूर से देख के खुश रहो देखो खाली मेरी इमेज नहीं मैं अच्छा नहीं हूँ असली इस बात में कोई भी शक ना हो कि हमारी सारी परवरिश सड़क शिक्षा प्राप्ति में बीती फिर ना हो जब पढ़ाए हमें कोई पत्ती फोड़े नक्की चलो नक्कियां से ओए आवा खड़ा हो चल ये रहा स्टेज दिखावा वाओ फैक्टर किया फिर नाम मारा चांटा फैक्ट कर दिखे जो चोर किए 1-2 टोर घुमा 7-8 शहर मिले 1-2 एक्टर सर ना चढ़े पैसा मेरे जरा सया जाने मुझे सारा जहाँ शाह जहाँ सर दर्द कारानामा हाथ मार मैराडोना मत कर पैरी बना कब से कह रहा हूँ ना फायदा क्या चूम के जूझ जब रख के दे सकते थूत पे बजे हम लूप पे चलते रहे तुम बस एक ही लूप पे सोचे हम डब्बे से बाहर सोचे कि तू करे बॉल बहुत सही है कि खाएगा हर टप्पे पे 4 करे कोई परवर नहीं सीधे मौत तेरा परवरदिगार
मुंह पे बोलने वाले कम है और ज्यादा जो बातें करे थोड़ी बढ़ा के आया था करने में मजे पर निकलूंगा उनकी मैं थोड़ी सी सड़ा के इन जैसों पे होता अफसोस है सोचे दोनों पे बोली भी लगा ले पर रहना मत गलत फहमी में हम ऊपर से कूदेंगे घोड़ी भी बना के हाँ था जज्बाती में पहले पर अभी नहीं अभी कहना है जो वो कह ले बाद में मैं भूल न जाऊं भाव न खाऊं या ना निभाऊं रिश्तों का ठेका नहीं लिया अभी से अपने भी अजनबी है कुछ जो बीटी थे थोड़े से यादें आती जब एक क्वार्टर अंदर ऐसे रिश्ते बजे मेरे लोड़े पे मैं बोला मैं पहले भी रहता था टच में नहीं ये बता अभी क्या अलग है और पहले से कर रहा था हसल जब पापा को लगता था बेटा ना समझ है होगा जो बोला था पहले से पता था थोड़ा तो खोने को दोनों पे बचा नहीं कुछ भी बोले डोलों से बोलूं मैं जोरों से सीखूं मैं जोरों से पिकलो बोरों से बैठे तो झुक भीम खाओगी पे रखे दोनों नाव पे जलेगी बड़ी छाव में फटेगी पूरी गांव की करेंगे जब शाओलिन उससे पहले जाओ लाओ जन्म रुके नहीं तो फाउल करे मैं खेलूं राउडी तो पता कड़ा के कहां बटेगा सब में तू लेके आ कहीं ऐसी नहीं यूनिटी देखेगा घर वालों को पता था छठी से लड़का ये मंदिर में माथा नहीं टेकेगा 101 डाका डाला माला माले क्रू शाका लाका बूम मैं काका टिकी टाका काटू चू ला साथ में भाला याबा डाबा डू भाई 101
धब्बे आले हम पिल्ले 101 एक से एक है मेरे 120
दिल्ली चले रोज अंधा होगा कानून लेकिन अंदर नहीं है लोग एम्बुलेंस से जल्दी आता ब्लैंकेट एट द डोर बच्चे देखूं भूखे कोसू लंबी गाड़ी को बंदे वारों को दिल्ली चले रोज तिनका नहीं है दाढ़ी में तो चिंतित नहीं है चोर अंधा होगा कानून लेकिन अंदर नहीं है लोग जो है by the people को the people by the throat फिर से मांगे वोट दिल्ली चले टेर गैस तोड़े खुद गाड़ी बोले फिर छुट्टी पहने नेम टैग्स लाठी पे लाठी मारे लाइक कौन सा मेरा देश शांत और वो रिपोर्टर थे जाली न्यूज़ इन द सेम गैंग टैक्स के पैसे से जाती खूसे तुमसे बड़ी जान बच्चों की कभी जाना नहीं भूल वो ताड़ी बार गोदी में लेके घूमे अंकुर हम पहने सेम पैंट्स अंटिल वो लोगो छापे कोई न्यू आज दिल्ली पेन में ताकि कोई सुने हमारी दिल्ली चले रोज तिनका नहीं है दाढ़ी में तो चिंतित नहीं है चोर मिलता नहीं है पानी जिनको तिनका चाहिए और लिखता नहीं बयान को तभी दिखती नहीं है सोच दिल्ली ऑन द रोड इन बेदा कैमरा लाटिनो स्टैमिना व्हीले थे सिविल में छुपा रे चेहरा था बंदों पे प्लान नहीं था डंडों में जेरी था टुल्ले या गुंडे थे जानू ये मैं भी ना क्या चेना कॉपरेट प्रोटेस्ट विद लाठीज और पैलेट्स हम बच्चों को चाहिए था फैसला आ जाए वो सड़क पे कल होंगे संसद में खड़े वो बच्चे नहीं चाहते कि दिल्ली चले रोज अंधा होगा कानून लेकिन अंदर नहीं है लोग एम्बुलेंस से जल्दी आता ब्लैंकेट एट द डोर बच्चे देखूं भूखे कोसू लंबी गाड़ी को बंदे वारों को दिल्ली चले रोज
Because that is what unlocks the best out of Team Falcons. Woo, I'll tell you now, I'm relieved we're going all the way. Claw, great points, by the way, Brig, and great handling that without a microphone. She did it. That was not easy. We had to pick up some notes. We did have to. They've given the Claude away, and they've won twice, Super Marco on the Claude. I think part of the issue with that, and the other one I want to point out is the glue, which has been played by Ogwin now twice. That dang Patrick skin. I know you want to buy it in game, but it is so annoying, I would imagine, to be playing against that and how effective he's been. I think those two characters have given too much freedom. I mean, they're able to disrupt, they're able to throw timings off, they're able to get in and out, and I feel like also they're now comfortable. And what I saw from Ogwin and Rimar, what do you think about this? It just felt like the first couple games they were forced into a deeper roam pool that was less comfortable, and they were trying to see, what can we do? There's the high-lows. Can we make it work? We can't. But now the glue, I mean, do we have to go back to just banning out those roamers?
Yeah, I think you're really going to have to consider it, and I think I'm going to double down again of the genius of that surprise Nolan by Falcons, forcing out suddenly an Akai ban, which Akai to go all out. They have to revisit getting priority in the EXP lane. Get an Esmeralda for Ying. Get a Claude right away.
Yeah, this is where an amazing analyst
comes into play, because you can look at the EXP lane, you could also look at the solo gold lane, but you can also look at the mid lane. And that's where Haji and Kaize have been having this matchup that's kind of playing bluff or call the bluff, where you have the Valentina, but the Atlas doesn't show up, where you have the Eudora, but it's not effective, where you see the Farsa come in, but it doesn't control. Talk to me, Brig. How do you get this matchup? Do you focus on these two? Because so far it has leaned in these last two games towards Haji.
I feel like Kaize, we saw how the advantage could really work in their favor, especially if him and Blink are able to just individually and together just really find the tempo, especially in the mid. But the fact that recently I feel like Blink has been forced to play more passive and reactive types of roamers compared to when he was on the likes of a Badang, who could just individually go in from creative angles and just let Kaize do his thing. I feel like that put a lot more pressure on Kaize in terms of positioning and keeping himself safe rather than trying to go in for the more aggressive plays as well. I think it goes hand in hand in a way, which is why Falcons, I'm amazed at how they've been able to handle and shut down these two, because it's not just them that have been struggling to at least manage the early, it's also Falcons dealing with Ying. So in the draft and game execution, Falcons have seemed to address so much of what YG has brought to the table.
Well, this is gonna do it. Best of 5 comes down to game 5. And Super Marco, they call him bulletproof. Rinmar said he has sometimes a stoic look about him, but we can finally see him relax a little bit after tying it up. They've done enough to get back into the set, which is more after looking at a 2-0 deficit, you would even say was possible, but now they're back. And it means that this draft is everything. This draft could determine and will determine your first grand finalist at MSC.
It's been a lot of trades. We've talked a lot about the coaching staff of Young God Galacticos and what they've done in the first 2 games. Now it's time to put respect on the names of Coach Moody and Coach Fren, what they have been able to do in the draft to solve the problems that Yangon threw at them in the first 2 games, solving them in the last 2 as we go to a faded game number 5. The question is, which one of these 2 teams are going to show the decision early? The decision to go for a lineup that can end the game before 15 minutes, to go fast and win fast.
I like the Arlet on Ying. I just feel like what has worked in this tournament, you've got Undying Ying, and you have to somehow get him back into a power position. You've just got to do something that's aggressive, something that he can take control over in the game, not die, cause disruption.
Oh, they saved it up all the way until the end.
Yeah.
Fanny Herrera banned out. Will Falcons really leave the Marcel open?
At least the Atlas problem isn't there anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe we could set aside the Valentina just a bit and leave them to play the kind of mid laners that they really want.
Yeah, we'll go back to more Juicins, Gourds, Farsas.
Oh, what is the last ban? The Freya's still there. Oh, the Freya's banned. So it's just
It is the Marcel.
Marcel that's taken out.
All right, Yangon. First pick is Juicing.
Okay.
Juicing right away. That's a great call by Yangon.
It's a deny on something that was comfortable on the side of Haji, and he just won last game with it. He might have played it 2 games in a row, and this is a takeaway as well from Sanchi, who was great on the Claude in the earlier games of this set, but now Super Marco's won 2 in a row. I mean, you gotta feel happy that he's on that character again.
If Yangon get the Badang early, this is going to force Falcons to pick up a Minotaur at red 3, unless they really are leaning in towards the glue. If ever Yangon go for the Badang Juicing combo again, if ever they show up with the Arlong in the first phase again, expect a lot of crowd control from them that Falcons needs to be ready to respond to. And Falcons with another surprise. They rush pick the glue early. They don't care about the Esmeralda Uranus trade. But at the same time, this isn't just a roll pick. It's a flex pick into EXP.
Yeah, and if the Badang gets locked in by Yangon, and even the Uranus, I don't think Falcons would be hesitant to pick up the Esmeralda for a third time here in this game or in this series, because they've been pretty much able to maximize the Esmeralda as well in the hands of Flap. So Yangon, it's a tricky spot.
Yeah, I think Falcons, what their approach to their draft has sort of felt like they're giving Yangon more, but they're left with the best part of the cake.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? It's like, all right, get as much of the cake as you want. We get that little
The little
gooey
part that
center.
still has like the, the cherry on it,
Exactly.
sprinkles,
But here's
a
some
little bit of
surprise.
extra.
Yeah, but this is actually really good by Yangon.
good,
Instead of going to the second phase, instead of leaning towards the aggressiveness for Han, they play again with the idea of control. They pick up the Guinevere and they get the Moskov.
That's been banned out in that second phase every time. You guys have looked at it and said, ooh, Gwyn would be good here. No, thank you. But it does leave open a chance for a very important pick here, whether it's EXP, whether you try to look at your mid lane here.
So it's true the Esmeralda Uranus option is still there, honestly, for Falcons, but if they themselves want to switch things up a bit too and just jump into more crowd control potential, they can leave it for later and instead prioritize the Harley, which I think fairly enough would be a great matchup towards the Guinevere, especially in objectives. So they're really trying to readjust their sources of engage in the last 2 picks.
I wonder if Yangon need to consider banning out a Farsa if they really want to double down on the aggro. But they need more crowd control.
Farsa,
They already have the glue to disrupt.
Don't need,
Good source
because Luxin is there, so they won't
Oh,
take
it might
it.
depend. They might actually save the
Matilda.
Haji pick for last.
What if, well, there is a chance Yangon just take out all these
Super
potential
Marco
XP lane
Claude,
problems.
Engine,
The zonings that can
Blue,
come out from Flap, either if he does get his hands on the Esmeralda. Though they have ways to deal with it through Shred. I just feel like positioning-wise, you really don't want to face it anymore. And that'll allow you through maybe consider another pickup on the Madame, if it's just really taking out the counters that we're talking about. But they instead take out the Eve.
Which I feel like means Yangon just showed a little bit of where they are mindset-wise, because their 3 picks are pretty great against a lineup with an Eve. And the fact that they still decided to ban it out, maybe that might be something that Falcons just now have a hunch on of, oh, wait, they're overthinking a certain aspect of it.
The EXP lane is
Let's go, guys. Last
really
game.
where the focus
Let's
for
take
me
on Attack
has
Palace
shifted.
and-
The Arlot has got banned. I thought that would be a great pick to get Ying back in comfort. But now you have the Uranus and the Esmeralda. Is the thought, Brig, that if we save this and you pick up Uranus or you pick up Esmeralda, we just get the other one?
There is a chance, but there is a chance also that we look at something else, because I think the Arlot Guinevere also really would have been a great combo. If Yangon are looking to just layer down and taking out the Eve means they really want to go for a certain setup, right?
Yeah. Because if ever Falcon shows their mid laner now and pick up something like, I don't know, Vexana, Yangon could go for a very aggressive EXP laner that could just break that formation. Setyan! With all this dive, with the counter set it has, with the Fury of the Phoenix, a lot of control, a lot of vision. The thing with Setyan lineups is, especially with a Harley, especially with a Claude, if Yangon end up with 2 strong high invade Roman EXP picks, it's going to be deadly for them. If Falcons
Let's
lose this early
go.
game, it's going to be hard to come back. I think Yangon can lean in with just pure total aggro.
What about Keto?
Up against Zetian because of her knockback, it might be tough, especially with the glue around as well and the Esmeralda still
Zetian.
open.
Okay.
Sora is
Sora.
actually a really
Nice
great
pick.
pickup.
Oh, all right.
We might get Valentina EXP here for Falcons and Flap.
That's an overwhelming amount of magic damage again.
Yes,
Yeah, and it's
correct.
a counter to the Sora in the lane. As Yangon end up with the Kali. The Kali not good if ever. Flap ends up with his own shifting skies as a Valentina Sora cosplay.
We're going deep into the pool, baby. We love to see it. Last pick here for Team Falcons.
Yeah, it's either they go for that, or just the next laner who could match the Sora and just disrupt positioning, and that's gonna be a Phoveus option for them.
Dangerous.
Who would have thought the Phoveus was actually still up there?
Yeah, they needed an anchor, actually. The Valentina would have been the more defensive option, but the Phoveus could be used to bait out some skills from Yangon, and then the glue goes in.
Let's go.
This is anyone's game.
This is it.
Yangon and Falcons
Game
will
number
take each
5
other to the
in
limit with this draft.
seconds.
No holding your cards
5
close to
seconds.
the chest. You got to lay them all out on the table. It's the river. Even though we're playing dangerous grass, but in this case, they are all in. It is Yangon Galacticos versus Team Falcons PH. It's game 5 at MSC, which means we're going to get our grand finalist.
Bro, don't do this now.
Gotta lay them all out on the table.
Final game in this best of 5. More than half a decade of allure. More than half a decade of hope and glory on the line. And of course, the first ticket to the grand finals of MSC at EWC 26. Let's get it on.
It's been a hell of a series. It's game number 5. It feels like a grand finals if you ask me at this point.
Yes.
YG with another draft in their pocket. Falcon as well. We've had different picks throughout every single game. And I love the way the panel put it. They are digging deep. It could be anyone's game at this point. Already so much aggression from both teams.
YG on the blue
Both
team.
junglers possibly have to go
Yeah,
back. Blink
right
has a
on
quick
the
same
red
guard,
team.
so he should be okay.
My bad.
The draft has definitely evolved. Again, they're able to split
Wrong
up the
calculation.
Zushin and the glue. And then, of course, Nary and Esmeralda inside early. Invade here coming in from Yangon Galacticos. And that Phoveus from out of nowhere. Again, multiple conversations I've had prior to this game starting amongst the community. Is Phoveus dead? And here at Red 5, possibly the most important game in this series, Phoveus comes up in the hands of the Filipino cannon.
It has been, and it also, in this series, it's been a banned pick. It's been one that Falcon hasn't been able to get their hands off. And the one times that it is let through, it's not even picked up in the beginning. It's picked up at the end as a last thing in the Swiss Army knife for Falcons. Can Flap be the difference here? Ying as well on the Sora, another pick we haven't gotten to see a lot of. So much on the shoulders of these EXP laners right now.
Ying and the Flap. Fortunately, neither of them have died. And again, this game has taken a turn after we've seen so much action in the first 2 minutes throughout the group stage. Early knockouts, we could have sworn the meta has changed, but no. When the best of the Philippines, the best of Myanmar come through, macro reigns supreme. Early presence here. Han holding that pixel brush. Blink with a pull. Ogwin flushes him out. Kyle here. holding
Turtle
on.
dance.
Oh, he's
First
blink.
turtle dance.
Han will get to level 5 before this turtle. Kyle's going to try to go back to this orange buff and scale along with him. Both teams taking it slow, so slow. They know exactly what is on the line. Down in the gold lane, the swap back and forth between this Moskov and this Clint has consistently happened. But one thing we have to point out, Super
Clint
Marco
Claude.
on the Claude has been monstrous.
Denying it from Sanji alone is such a power play. And I'm glad that we were able to take a peek at the
Unknown
gold lane,
attack
because
कर
that's
रहा है.
essentially where the duel is happening. And
Claude
as we
का
speak,
हालत
it's
खराब
happening
है.
now while these two teams dance around the turtle.
We do have a level up on
Claude
Han
attack कर रहा है.
between him and Kyle, which means Falcons
What
have
is
to
happening?
really try to get an advantage here. They have to try to stun, and there goes a pursuit
Nice
on
one.
Han. A lot of damage on
Nice
him, but Ying's
turtle
still able to take the
skills,
turtle. Gets a knock up on Ogwin, crashing down. The fists are hitting hard, but Ogwin's there now, taking a ride on Ying. Falcons look for the response. No members on either team go down. Turtle goes over to YG.
Marco goes for that double. Rampage Sandstorm jumped in. Blink spent his ult to deny Marco a clean double wave.
All right. I like the way both teams are playing right now. There's sustainability around the map. There's crowd control on both sides. There's engage, re-engage. This game could definitely go the distance.
There's a combo that they're waiting for. Falcons want to get the perfect Fury of the Phoenix into a chain on that demonic pursuit. The demonic wave into infernal pursuit. Pop, pop, pop. That's what they're looking for. For YG came a little closer, came a little easier, right? A flicker into a shifting skies. So we're taking aspects of games 1 to 4 and putting them into practice now with some new picks as well. So this is a series that's been building game to game to game. Falcons have a small lead, but you can only really chalk that up to a little better mobility across the map for them, since, you know, Harley is slightly more mobile than a Guinevere, easier double laning from Super Marco, and I think that's what we're looking for, a mid-game power spike from Falcons that could eventually turn YG around, make up the difference for that ease of execution.
But you could say the same for YG here. All it takes is one good combo from them as well. One nice Violent Requiem paired up with the Beacon, followed up by the Shifting Skies. There's a lot of possibilities on both teams to make one major play to give them that 2,000 to 3,000 gold lead.
They're neck deep in crowd control. They literally have a bit of crowd control on everyone. So that's what Falcons is trying to skirt. That's what they're playing around. Again, the fact that it's only Marco who has a Purified and Haji who has his passive. Once that's popped, then Yangon has free reign. That's what Falcons is taking all this time for.
What's insane about the amount of crowd control on both teams, there is only one Purified between 10 players. Both teams putting their all on an aggressive route, or on a micro route, I would say, looking for the outplays, looking for the chance to make something happen with these flickers. Kai's trying to make entry for Ying. Blink there as well. Han finally comes in, get the Violent Requiem. A lot of damage locks in. Super Marco comes over to Blazing Duet. Kai's able to
Nice.
Marco unable to do any damage on a Blink to the backside.
Oh,
Han does go
what a
down
game.
though. It's 1-for-1
What a game by
flat for Han.
Falcon,
YG end up losing out on that one.
Not so fast. There is a chubby wave left over by Sanji in that push up top. Falcons quick to find redemption as they push down bottom. Kyle!
I have a lot of trouble here.
Space escape was at such short range.
Nice one.
And that will even the playing field in that last trade, because yes, the tower went down on top side, but tower also falls to Super Marco. And if they didn't find a play there, YG could have taken a huge step back, but now Gold still sitting at a complete standstill. Structures at a complete standstill.
Nothing comes for free. Yangon Galacticos and Falcons, believe it or not, are much more similar than one would like to admit. They are very macro-centric. Sure, good team fighting, great maneuvers, tactics on the map, but it has to make sense at the bottom line. When you look at that number at the end, how much do we get out of that? They have to have gotten their margins checked, and that's what that kill was on Kyle. Kyle has to watch himself again. It's a death for jungler Han and Kyle. EXP lane though, I think this is where the difference lies. Flap is a little more willing to sacrifice himself, while Ying is still the hero play. Ying still counts his Shifting Skies as if it was the game changer. It was the win. Ooh, nice steal by Sanji.
Very well done. Both teams back to just letting their junglers do what they do best. YG, Han does take a camp up on the top side. He's holding a level ahead of Kyle right now, and it's kind of been the story. Even though he's on the Guinevere, he's been able to keep himself ahead in terms of juggling. It's with those little camp steals that he's taking. A little lizard here, a little bug on the top side. Anything to try to get the level advantage on the next objective.
Which is something that Kyle has to watch out for, because more than just a cleanup, Kyle has to also keep up with the farm, which he hasn't been. He just reached level 10 now, while all this while Han was already level 11. So now in this final turn,